All right. So in my home congregation that I grew up in, this text always reminds me of this one skit that our youth group would always do. I'm not going to monologue the whole thing out for you, but I'm going to give you just the gist. It starts with someone just, chilling at home, and they get a phone call, and it's from God. And God says, hey, how's it going? Can I come over in a bit? And the person's like, yeah, of course, God. I would love it if you come over, right? So the person starts to prepare for God's arrival. They get super excited. They get out the cleaning supplies. They want to make sure everything is just absolutely perfect. They get out the fine china and this super fancy red wine that they've been saving for just the specialist of guests. And who is not the most special of guests other than God, right? That would be the perfect time. And then they put out a fancy dinner, and they get, all their decorations, everything ready to go. They got these brand new, Pottery Barn sticks, candlesticks, just everything as fancy and as perfect as you can make it for God's arrival. To have everything ready to go. And so the whole time that she would be preparing for God's arrival, people keep knocking on the door and interrupting. The first person is starving and asks for food. And she's like, sorry, I don't have anything for you because this is for God, because God is coming to dinner, God, right? Then someone else, knocks on the door and asks for something to drink. And she says, sorry, I don't have anything for you. All I have is this fine wine, and it's for God because, God is coming to visit me, right? Then someone knocks, and immediately when the door opens, they're coughing and wheezing, and it's clear that they're very, very sick. And the person can barely mutter through their coughs that they need help. And she, of course, promptly slams the door in their face and says, don't get me sick. God's coming to dinner. I need to be well and healthy because God is coming over. Then someone knocks again, and now she is really frustrated because of all of these interruptions, because of all that she's trying to do to prepare for God's arrival. And when she opens the door, someone that's barely wearing any clothing and is just shivering in the cold and just asks simply if they have anything that they, can they give them something to put on to stay warm? And, at her wit's end of frustration at this point in time, she's, no, can't you see that I am preparing for God because God is coming here to see me? I don't have time for any of this. And after, slamming the door and turning the last stranger away, she finishes what she's doing and has got everything ready to go for God's visit. And the phone rings. It's God again. And she says, oh God, I'm so excited for your visit. I had some interruptions, but it's all good. I am all prepared now and I'm ready for you to arrive. And God replies, well, I came over 4 times. And you turned me away. When I was hungry, you did not share your food. When I was thirsty, you didn't give me anything to drink. When I was sick, you did not care for me. And when I was naked and cold, you did not share your clothing. For when you do these things to the least of these, you do it to me. This is one of the most memorable skits of my childhood. And I bet you can kind of see why. Feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and healing the sick. These are often referred to as those Matthew 25 things that Jesus says. Those things that Jesus leaves us with and asks us to do one more time before he is handed over to be killed. And it's how we end our church calendar year this year. Advent is a time of watchfulness and waiting. It's a time of preparing for the Emmanuel, God with us. God is coming on Christmas. And what will we do to prepare? As we get ready to start our Advent journey next week, this is the question. In 2013, the American Atheist Society put up a billboard in Times Square that says, "Who needs Christ in Christmas?" Christmas is about love, joy, family, friends, giving, and food. For everyone that just gasped, yes, it was that controversial at the time as well. Who needs Christ in Christmas? See, they were recognizing something that we, from our faith perspective, would proclaim is the Christ in Christmas. That Matthew 25 stuff. The reason for the season. Love, joy, family, friends, giving, and food. And this year, Advent's going to look totally different. It's going to be staring at your computer screen or listening on the phone. It's okay to lament for a little while how different it's going to be. There won't be holiday festivities. Probably no parties to go to this year. Maybe not even family celebrations. And that's okay to mourn that a little bit. But during this time, we still watch and prepare. Prepare for the Emmanuel, God with us. Our annual preparing for when God decided to become human, to live among us and to teach us, to share these gifts of love and joy and giving, of friends and family and food, that he shared with strangers, sinners, tax collectors, prostitutes, those that were deemed undesirable and unclean, those that society has labeled unworthy or outcasts, and pretty much just anyone that he came in contact with, right? This is the Christ in Christmas. God is coming. Advent is how we get ready for God to come to dinner. And what will you do in your preparations? Get out the fine wine and fancy dishes? Or answer the door? Our Christmas culture starts the day after Thanksgiving, or probably more accurate these days, the day after Halloween. We see the stores filling up with decorations and gift boxes, holiday candles and cards, deals on new TVs and new iPads. 'Tis the season, right? That's what December has become. More of that and less of this preparing for God. Less of the joy and the love and the family and friends and the giving and the food. And as we enter this time, maybe this year can be a little different. I wonder if because how different this season is going to be, that there may be a hidden gift in that. A chance to do something different with how different December is going to be. What if this year, instead of all of our fancy gifts and parties, we just took the time to tell one person each day why we are grateful for them? What if we called the food bank and asked what they really needed right now? Or, like just last week at St. Luke's, while the sharing supper shared sandwiches and hats and gloves. Maybe it can be giving a thank you card to the postal worker who has already had a rough year and December is usually the hardest time for them. Or sending an extra holiday greeting just to someone that you know might need it. Preparing for God doesn't always have to be, glamorous. It doesn't always have to be the most beautiful, the picture-perfect time of the season. Sometimes it's just the little things, like answering the door to those in need. Amen.